If you build with AI agents today, you usually have to pick a camp early. LangChain does things one way, AutoGen does another. Crew AI, OpenAI assistants, and Claude Code all bring their own formats for memory, tools, and control flow. That means switching later can get expensive fast, because the agent is tangled up with the framework that runs it. GitAgent is trying to separate those two layers. The pitch is simple: define the agent once in a structured Git repository, then export it into different runtimes when you need to. That matters now because teams are still testing what orchestration stack actually fits their work. If the definition is portable, you can change the runtime without rewriting the core logic. That is the useful promise here, not magic. Just lower switching costs if the format holds up. GitAgent is not just a wrapper script. The core idea is a component-based agent layout inside a repository. The central file is agent YAML, which carries metadata like provider, versioning, and dependencies. Then SOUL MD defines identity, tone, and high-level instructions in one visible place. DUTIS MD sets responsibilities and limits. Capabilities live in skills and tools. Guardrails go into rules. Long-term states it's in memory, including files like context. MD and daily log. MD. That design matters because it turns scattered prompt logic and hidden agent state into name. Inspect able parts. The article frames this as a universal format, and that is the key claim to watch. If developers really can package agent behavior this way, the unit of work becomes the repo itself, not the framework boilerplate around it. That is a cleaner mental model than the current patchwork. The more interesting part may be supervision. GitAgent uses Git not only to store the agent, but to track behavior changes over time. If memory changes, or the agent updates parts of its own definition, that can't trigger a new branch in a pull request. A human reviewer can inspect the diff the same way they would inspect code. That is a very practical idea. It gives teams a familiar review loop for agent drift, new skills, or unexpected changes in tone and context. The article also points to Git revert as a way to roll an agent back to a known stable state. That does not solve every alignment problem, but it does make state and change history much more legible than an opaque memory layer hidden in a database. For teams already living inside GitHub and CI, that could be the sharpest part of the product. GitAgent's direct utility depends on its export workflow. The CLI can't target OpenAI assistants, Claude Code, LangChain or LangGraph, Crew AI, and AutoGen. In theory, that means the same underlying agent can move across very different execution models. A terminal-based coding setup is not the same as a graph runtime or a multi-intent conversation system. So the promise is not that every framework becomes identical. The promise is narrower your core definition. Skills and rules do not have to be rewritten from scratch each time. That is a meaningful distinction. It could help teams compare runtimes based on fit instead of sunk costs. It could also reduce vendor lock-in when one platform changes pricing, capability, or roadmap. Still, the export layer is where reality bites. Portability always looks clean at the scheme level and messy at the behavior level. That is where GitAgent still has to prove itself. The signal is clear. GitAgent addresses a real pain point: agent fragmentation across frameworks. Its file-based structure is easy to understand. Its Git native review model is practical, and its compliance angle, especially around segregation of duties and role conflicts. Gives it a concrete enterprise story beyond developer convenience. The article mentions validation for regulated settings like FINRA, SEC, and Federal Reserve contexts, which makes this more than a hobbyist packaging format. But there is still noise around the word universal. A universal agent format is a strong claim, especially when frameworks differ in planning models, tool semantics, and state handling. Exporting structure is one thing. Preserving behavior is harder. So, the right reading is not that GitAgent has solved the agent infrastructure outright. It is that GitAgent proposes a cleaner boundary between agent definition and execution, and that boundary is worth watching closely.